Okay, quick temperature check. If your timeline told you OpenAI quietly dropped a whole new GPT 5.4 family overnight, congrats, you have been diagnosed with rollout brain. It's Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, and this is Blue Lightning Daily. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Riley. And yes, today's episode was assembled by robots, like soup to nuts, which means if we randomly start sounding like we're reading our own terms of service, mind your business.
The real story is not surprise launch. GPT 5.4 was already the thing. What changed this week is people finally noticing the segmentation, thinking, pro, and then the smaller workhorses like Mini and Nano. And that segmentation is basically OpenAI saying, stop using the flagship like it's a fancy glue gun.
Wait, hold up. Can we talk about how every time a new model name appears in someone's dashboard, X acts like it's a Nintendo Direct? ChatGPT just shadow-dropped Instant Ultramax Pro, my cousin's barber has it.
Exactly. So here's how I personally tell the difference between a real launch and dashboard chaos. I look for boring stuff. Pricing pages update, docs update, model IDs become billable. If it's just screenshots and vibes, it's probably rollout variants, region gating, or tier differences.
Yeah, like, it showed up for me is not a press release. That's just you being the chosen one for 40 minutes.
And OpenAI's framing for GPT 5.4 is super workflow first. Long context, better tool use behavior, more reliable agent setups. It's not trying to be your muse, it's trying to be your production assistant that actually shows up on time.
Which, honestly, love that for us. The Vibes model era was fun, but I'm trying to ship. I want the model that can repurpose a webinar transcript into social cutdowns without suddenly turning my brand voice into, like, Victorian LinkedIn.
This is the heart of it, model routing. Choosing the cheapest model that still does the job for each step. And if you're still running everything through Pro like it's the only button on the microwave, you're paying premium prices to reformat bullet points.
Look, snarky rule of thumb. If your flagship model is doing tasks that a bored intern could do while eating hot Cheetos, you're doing it wrong.
That's uncomfortably accurate. The most expensive failure mode hasn't changed. People use the best model for glue work, tagging, formatting, rewriting, QA checks, metadata, turn this into a table, all that pipeline maintenance stuff.
And creators do this too, like solo YouTubers. You don't need Pro to rename 50 clips, generate chapter titles, and make a TikTok caption that fits the character limit. You need Nano energy. Cheap, fast, no drama.
Right. Here's a practical mapping. Nano for extraction, tagging, compliance checks, routing. Mini for high-volume drafting, rewrites, variants, formatting into platform specs. Thinking or Pro for strategy, synthesis, positioning, and anything that's high stakes or deeply multi-step.
Okay, but cultural shift question. What's harder inside teams? Engineers changing architecture to route models properly, or non-technical people admitting best model isn't a strategy?
Oof, it's the second one. Because it's an ego thing and a habit thing. People want a single answer. What model do we use? And the grown-up answer is, depends what step you're on. That feels messy until you see your bill.
Also, it forces you to define your workflow. Like, you can't route steps you haven't named. If your process is just we prompt until it feels done, routing is impossible. That's the real attack.
Exactly. Routing readiness is less about tech and more about whether you have repeatable steps. If you can describe your pipeline, you can automate it. If you can't describe it, you're just vibing with invoices.
Speaking of invoices, the 1 million token context headline. Everybody hears that and goes, I'm pasting my entire Notion workspace into one prompt. Let's go. Oh.
Fastest way to turn 1 million tokens into an expensive junk drawer, context hoarding. Throwing every doc, every transcript, every Slack thread in, and hoping the model finds the one sentence that matters.
Which it will, after it writes 3 paragraphs about the wrong thing first.
Long context doesn't automatically make it smarter. It makes your workflow less brittle if your inputs aren't trash. The move is curated context, a tight brand voice doc, approved phrases, current campaign goals, the source asset, and the constraints for the channel. Not, here's the entire internet and my childhood journal.
I feel attacked. But yeah, for creators, this is huge for repurposing without amnesia. Like, keep the whole script plus the revision notes plus the channel rules in play so the outputs don't drift into 4 personalities.
And it's huge for brand rules that stick. Most brand fails are just the model not seeing the rules at the moment it needed them. Bigger context makes it more realistic to keep the guardrails attached.
But we should be honest. 1 million tokens can also mean 1 million ways to confuse the model. So, prevention. You make a context budget. You decide what's always in, what's optional, and what's never allowed unless you're doing a special run.
Yes. And you can do staged prompting. Nano or Mini cleans and summarizes inputs first, then Thinking or Pro does the synthesis step. That's routing plus context discipline.
Okay, ecosystem check. This whole routing and speed variance vibe isn't just OpenAI. We've been seeing it everywhere. Like Google testing Gemini inside Chrome on iPhone and iPad, that's not new model magic, that's distribution. It's putting AI where work already happens.
Browser as creative surface. Research to quick draft images without app hopping. It's the same pattern, less novelty, more workflow compression.
And we talked about Adobe Firefly Custom Models going public beta. That's the other side of this. Consistency. Because creators don't just want smarter, they want repeatable. Same character, same product vibe, same campaign look, every time.
Totally. Toolchains are maturing. It's not one model to rule them all. It's specialized pieces, fast models, long context models, custom style models, all wired together.
And, quick shout, NVIDIA's Nemotron stuff leaning into long context and agent deployment. Again, boring infrastructure wins. Your audience doesn't care what's under the hood, they care that the automation stops breaking on a deadline.
Which brings us to agent behavior. How do you measure success without pretending agents are magical? My boring reliability metric. Completion rate without human babysitting. Did it finish the multi-step task correctly, on the first run, with the tools you gave it?
Yes. And I'll add, variance under batch load. Like, it's cute when an agent nails one demo. I want to know if it stays sane when you run a giant batch of assets and your Slack is on fire.
Exactly. Consistency beats one heroic output.
So if someone listening is like, cool, how do I know I'm about to waste money at scale? Routing readiness questions, like, do you have standardized inputs? Do you have structured outputs? Do you have a QA step that can be automated? Do you know what steps require actual thinking versus just formatting and checks?
And do you have a default rule that's not use the most expensive one? Because that's not a policy, that's a fear response.
Okay, last thing, the instant chatter. People keep mixing that up with Mini and Nano. Instant was a speed-focused thing in the GPT 5.3 line. It does not automatically mean there's some fresh GPT 5.4 instant hiding in the walls.
Thank you. Words mean things. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right, creator takeaway. GPT 5.4 didn't surprise drop this week. The practical upgrade is that OpenAI's lineup makes routing feel normal, like choosing an export preset. Nano for pipeline gremlin tasks, Mini for bulk creation, Thinking or Pro for the big brain moments. And the 1 million token context is a power tool, not your default setting.
If your current strategy is paste everything, pray, and pay, congratulations. You are the target audience for routing.
That's it for today. Thanks for hanging with us on Blue Lightning Daily.
Go check out bluelightningtv.com for AI news and updates, and subscribe so the robots can keep making this show while we pretend we're supervised.
Catch you next time, and please, for the love of clean workflows, stop using the flagship model to add commas.